Hello, everyone. My name is Allison Holly, and I am a channel and an awakening guide. And today I have a message for you around this control agenda that we are moving out of collectively. Yesterday, I actually started recording a video and I went into channeling, and my intention was to really look at the control agenda and what my guidance team has called the control agenda, which I'll tell you a little bit about in a moment. So when I went in, I actually had the intention to say, let's look at the players, let's name the names, let's get really clear on this. And immediately, my guidance team said, why would you want to look at something that is already gone? Because from an energetic perspective, we're witnessing something, not something that's losing power, but something that has lost power and is on its way out. It's simply the physical unfolding of something that on an energetic level, it's already unplugged. It's already disconnected. And this, what we're experiencing, what we're witnessing globally with all of this information coming up to the surface is we're just witnessing sort of the healing process. We're witnessing all of it being discreated on a physical level because energetically that paradigm has already shifted. So essentially, I'm not going to be naming names in this video. I was guided again very much not to name names. I want to go into the reason that I felt that this was a powerful message right now, what my guidance team has told me about the control agenda, and then I'm going to share with you a channeling that I just finished about what our process is, where we are in this process right now, and what each of us individually can do as we move through these big changes. So I first became aware of what my guides call the control agenda back in 2020 when the pandemic hit. And at that time, what I remember is all of this was starting to come up. Everyone was starting to say, oh, wow, there's this pandemic. And there was a particular global figure who came online and shared a message about this pandemic. And I don't remember what the message was. It was something about, oh, we're doing our best and here we go. But the moment that I saw this person, I heard he's lying. And the way that I channel is it's not just words, it's actually full pictures. So when I heard that phrase and I heard it auditorily in my mind, I also saw kind of the larger structure of what was going on and what was being created and what was unfolding. And that larger structure was that essentially there was a small group. Now we can say small, I would say 5,000. I don't know, this is a guesstimate, but to kind of give you the size, right, in terms of the whole planet, there was a smaller group of what we now call the global elites, and I want to rename them. I was given this idea to call them the global depletes. So just as kind of a joke, but I was shown that these people, that there was a small group of people who were getting together. It's essentially the billionaires, people who are in positions of power, whether they're forward facing or behind the scenes. What I actually saw was that there was a lot behind the scenes, a lot of these people getting together and essentially sort of trying to create a way to control the population, to control the rest of us. Now, they were coming together in these secret meetings, which is something that I believe we'll start seeing as more, I feel in the next few months, we'll start seeing the evidence of these meetings. They would come together in these meetings and sort of have this infighting on how they were going to control the world. A few of the ideas that they had, so they were in sort of separate camps, and I'm going to share with you what each of these camps believed they were going to, how they wanted to create this control agenda, how they wanted to enact it. So one main camp was digital control, essentially controlling people by how, digital IDs, tracking, all of the things that we're actually seeing right now. This was a big push. And the other was through global pandemics and lowering the population. The main idea behind the control agenda and all of these different ideas that they had, that all these people had, was to control the population. There was actually a couple different motivations behind it. One is just that control was part of the paradigm. I mean, it is the paradigm that we're leaving as we move into, sovereignty and new earth and heaven on earth. None of that heaven on earth has anything to do with control. Right. So the old paradigm was all about control, and it was for the purpose of, the population is getting too big. This is what they believed. They wanted to protect and serve only them, only that group. And because they really think that they're elite too, right? They believe that they're better than the rest of us and their families. And so many people know about certain groups and certain families that have been creating this control agenda for hundreds of years, maybe longer. So these groups of people had these different ideas on how they were going to control the population of the planet and how they were going to control society, period. Because even the idea for them was, even if we don't lower the population, we want to stay in power. And how are we going to stay in power? We've got to control. Even if we've got lots and lots of people, we've got to control them. Now, what we're seeing with a lot of these very dark exposures, that is consciously, I will say. So unconsciously, people are operating in deeply demonic spaces. Sometimes they don't know it. But some of these people, as we're seeing now, they were actively doing different rituals, because I shared this in another video about the Cabal. There was a belief that, this is all part of it. There was a belief that these sacred teachings were only for a select few. And over the years, I mean, I'm talking thousands of years, over the years, these, what we would call, divine teachings that became mystery schools. And then they became modes of operation that were very flipped on their head, very deformed, very dark. Again, it's all about control. It's all about keeping it just for me and my family, and the rest of the population. The belief system of these people is really the rest of the population has to be controlled, and they're not worth anything, right? They don't care about us. It's, you know what I mean? And it becomes something that is lived unconsciously, right? So one thing that I do want to say about the control agenda and the people right now that we're witnessing falling is that not all of them are consciously working with reptilians. Many of them simply have this belief and this desire to stay in power. And it's become very twisted up in their heads on how to do that. In fact, I will say this, that some of the people who are even participating in these very dark rituals, they are not aware of the extent of what they're doing. They're not meeting the reptilians. They're not face to face with these reptilians. So now I want to share with you something that I just channeled and more information about the control agenda, what this means for you, and how we're going to move through this and really bring our energy and our consciousness into the frequencies of New Earth, even in the midst of all of this unfolding. I would like to look at what is the current strategy of the control agenda. Where are we with it? Wow, it's interesting. The image that I get is choosing teams. So there's this big push to sort of grab the attention and the frequency and pull people into these really chaotic programs and have people give up their sovereignty and have people devolve into hate and have people move into sort of their base nature of control and things like that. And the way that it looks is literally, when we're talking about the timeline split or the earth split, it's like, okay, I'm going to see if I can pull this person over to my team and we're going to go over here. And then I'm going to, it's self elected to go into the new earth side because, and it's very gentle. There's no pull. It's pure light. And that side, it's more like what happens when you just allow yourself to be. You naturally float upwards. We're built to move toward the light. So there's really this scramble of pulling and attention and energy to get people to go into that side of continuing to operate from our base natures. It's really base nature. The whole basis of the control agenda is lack. And I'll talk about some of the details, but the whole basis of the creation of the control agenda and the entire paradigm that's being dissolved is lack. And so going into the new earth side, it is abundance. It's recognizing our internal abundance. It's no longer feeling the need to source everything that we have externally, because this sourcing of everything externally, I've brought this through in other videos. This side over here representing the cabal and the old earth and all of those structures, this side over here operates from needing to harvest other people's energy. It's an outsourcing. It's a need to take. It's a belief system and a whole way of operating that says, if I don't take it from you, then I won't have it. And indeed, when we're moving away from light, when we're moving away from light structures and knowing that we're God and knowing that we deserve and that we are always filled with this light, when we're on the other side and we don't believe that, we have to farm other people's energy or resources or life force or the very life that they live, right? This is where all of these dark things come about. It's based on the paradigm of taking externally instead of witnessing and recognizing that we are God and that we are always filled with light. And even Mother Earth really has this powerful story, this powerful teaching to assist us with at this time, which is you're freely given. Everything is springing forward from earth abundantly and effervescently and always, always. And the programming of the more dense layers of the human game, the human experience, has brought us into the illusion of imprisonment. And in fact, that imprisonment is very real when we're in it, right? We're very much plugged into this. The Matrix was a documentary. It was not a fiction movie. We were actually plugged into these centers, and many still are. This is actually, this is good. This is actually where we get the dark AI agenda, because what's happening is, and I want to make sure that this is understood to be somewhat symbolic, but AI, look at how much this takes from the resources. It needs a lot of water. It's really pulling from the resources. It takes a lot of space, a lot of bandwidth. And the AI agenda beyond that is actually to take the very creative life force from humanity. Now, it's not like these evil people sitting in layers going, "Oh, I'm going to take from humanity." But it also is, right? A lot of them are not fully aware of what they're doing. They're just blindly operating in the paradigm that seeks to take in order to sustain things that are non-organic. And so this AI agenda that's coming through right now that I'm being shown, actually the control system, the control agenda desires to continue into the future with the dark AI. And what that looks like is AI controls humanity. And AI actually takes life force energy from humanity to power it, right? It takes from Mother Earth. It takes from humanity. If you stare at your phone for hours and hours, you're giving your life force energy to it. It's pretty gross, right? It's pretty gross to see those two sides of it. So let's go back to looking at the control agenda. Where are we now with the control agenda? It's the earth split, right? It's the scramble. And it just feels like it's dying out. Again, this is something that I've seen with this earth split where there will be several different moments where, okay, so we've got this sort of majority split going on right now where it's really like two. But the dark agenda, right now there's people who are unconsciously sort of going into this control, and they're unconsciously allowing their energy to be taken, etc. But that's nothing to fear, because those people will be given choice points again and again to pull off of that timeline and really be in New Earth. And some people, it's almost like on a soul level. Well, it's not almost like, it is. On a soul level, our divine template has specific timing within it that's going to give us the moment that we awaken and move into New Earth frequencies, where we unplug and we have our sovereignty, we have our agency over here, and we're actively remembering that we're gods and we're building the new earth. We are working with Mama Gaia to build these divine templates and to create this. So there's going to be a very small, it really looks like a very small percentage of beings who choose to stay in that dense timeline. Once all of this transition has moved through and we've really unshackled, there's going to be a very small percentage of people over here, this over here representing the old and the dense timelines. There are a lot of people who have chosen not to awaken right now in order to do the work of disassembling these control agenda places. And I say it like that because when we have awakened to a certain point, we're not even seeing this, we're not even engaging with this, with the denser timelines. We can't hold that frequency. And so we don't engage with it. That's not a judgment call. It's not to say that there's good and bad and the people over here are like really doing it great. None of the judgment around all of this applies when we're really looking at it from that new earth perspective. And this is something that each of us can really examine within ourselves if we have this viewpoint of good guys and bad guys. And if we're really grasping onto that and really needing to sort of, it's like, choosing a team, like in sports, when, if you watch sports and you get so into it that it's part of your identity, that's a sign that you're operating in these old modes, even if you're doing it from a spiritual perspective. If you are saying this political leader is the good guy and this political leader is the bad guy, while it's fine to see the frequencies that people are operating in, and it's actually very beautiful to call it like it is, to say like frequency based, this is not working and this is working, or this frequency that this person is operating within does not move into the new. It's beautiful to call that and to create those boundaries. However, if there's an emotional attachment to it, that is something to be examined. That is something to be examined. And it's something to, what I'm hearing is unlink your heart from this desire to have good guys and bad guys, to have an external person who is a savior, and to really deify these people. Because that, again, that's contributing to the control agenda. In fact, paying too much attention to all of this that's breaking down contributes to those frequencies, and it contributes to the control agenda, the very thing that we're seeking to unlink ourselves from. And when I say unlink, I think of these, handcuffs or these chains. We're seeking to liberate ourselves from that. and we're doing it, right? The moment that we make that decision, we are free. Our frequency is free. We claim it. We can claim this. And then we allow ourselves to exist more in those divine templates of New Earth. All right, let me see. What else? One of the questions is, naming the players, naming the people. Again, this is kind of referencing what I just went into, but I do want to see if there's any clarity that would be helpful for those watching this to have with the actual people, with the cabal. Okay, yeah, it's going deeper into what just came through. What what is the motivation behind needing to know these names? What is the motivation behind needing to be on, this side or this side, as opposed to, now here's the alternative, feeling safety, finding safety within ourselves and trusting our own intuition. Now, right now, this paradigm is very much exploding. And so there's a tendency as all this chaos kind of erupts and it seems very in our face, there can be a tendency to forget our tools, to forget the very things that we were doing before. And the example of this is before the world really was exploding in our face, many of us knew that in our interpersonal relationships, the divine way of moving through things was if it doesn't work for me, yes, sometimes I need to create a strong boundary, but other times I simply move my focus to what is working. When we look at it on this global stage, it starts to translate into these really deep, basic need paradigms of mommy and daddy, right? Of these parental figures. Because unconsciously we have maybe looked at our political leaders as the ones who make us feel safe and who really hold that power. This is still an externalization, and this is still something to be worked on. And so it's really not about naming names. It's really not about... Now, I'm going to go into sort of the justice paradigm, because in that paradigm, the naming the names is actually part of this clearing of the control agenda. But when we look at it from the perspective of we're awakening and we're expanding into our God consciousness within and really being the cultivators, the architects, the way showers of New Earth, we are not dependent on being right, It's really that paradigm. And we're not dependent on really anybody doing it external to ourselves. We could build New Earth within our own structure and our own paradigm. And many have been creating, living in New Earth, heaven on earth, paradise here, without anybody around them, telling them that it's okay, telling them that they're going to be safe, etc. And so this is the work that we do now. Now, one thing that is coming through is as this paradigm falls, this control agenda falls, we will be surprised. Aha, this is really clear. The masks coming off. And we will be surprised. Now, why will we be surprised? It leads back into, have we been projecting our feelings of safety and our feelings of, really, it can be super discombobulating, destabilizing to see some of the people that maybe you dearly projected a lot of love onto falling from grace. And this is really interesting. And those that you projected a lot of dislike onto, even hate, many stories, seeing that they're actually playing different roles than we may have perceived. sort of the good guys become the bad guys and the bad guys become the good guys. And we will be noticing a lot of that. Again, without naming names, what I'm seeing is as the masks fall off, we have the potential of doing a couple different things. One, we have the potential of seeing, masks are a really good example of this. We have the potential of seeing that we've all been role playing, essentially, that this is a big game. And then the other option, of course, is that we could get very internally destabilized, thinking, oh my God, I really thought this person was the savior and they're not because their mask just fell off. And now I see them as human and very flawed or beyond flawed, right? It could get devastating if we're really holding people on pedestals. And, this person over here, this could also cause, and it is causing a lot of this. I'm seeing a lot of this in the collective, where there's such an attachment to somebody being a bad guy, where that's not really the case. There's such an attachment to that even when the masks come off and when people are speaking the truth and they're speaking from sovereignty and they're saying that I have nothing to do with this, that to reinforce the internal paradigm of them being a bad guy, there are many sort of psyops and stories and collectives that still project hate onto people who have done really nothing, at least not to the extreme that we're seeing them have done things. So as the masks fall off, it's really our individual role to be in a space. Here's the guidance. Be in a space of compassion, because what we're really witnessing is a collective, more powerful words want to come through for this because it's like unearthing, but we could also call it collective shadow work. And each of us, hopefully everyone who's listened to this has done, that excavating within ourselves. And when we've done that excavating within ourselves, sometimes we look at things that we ourselves have done and we feel just so much around it. And within ourselves, when we do the shadow work, yes, we want to look at it. We want to see it clearly, but it's not so that we can beat ourselves up forever and ever. Amen. It actually is to cleanse. It's to clear. It's to provide space for the light to shine through, for our divinity to shine through. And so if we are finding it hard to let go of our projected ideas of these external figures that are playing their role, and they're playing it very well, right? It's a big stage. If we hold on to those externalized roles, what we're really doing is we're not allowing ourselves to examine what's going on within ourselves, and we are holding up the structures of the control agenda. We're actually contributing to that. And that's okay, because what's happening as we shift on this planet, as Mama Earth raises her frequency, it is inevitable that each of us will be shifting or will die, right? If our human selves are very resistant to this, and I apologize if that came across as insensitive. I'm laughing at it because my perspective is we're eternal beings. And so death can't really hold us back from anything. But within the human paradigm, many people will choose to end their time on Earth, right? And choosing it being from the higher frequency, they'll leave this planet as embodied beings because their work is done, or because they don't want to change as things move forward. They don't want to change, and that's okay. So the work is for each of us. The work moving forward for each of us is to deconstruct and remove, pull out, let it dissolve by itself, almost like a suture or being stitched up, right? Those, if you've ever gotten something sewn up, maybe you've had a deep wound or surgery and they sew you up, a lot of those stitches, they're meant to actually dissolve. sometimes you do need to pull them out, but allow it all to just dissolve. And the way that the control agenda looks is it's woven into the fabric of it, because it's an entire paradigm. It's woven into the fabric of our entire existence. This is why in the movie The Matrix, they had to pull these cords out. They had to unplug. And really, when I look at it from this perspective, it's like a web. It's the matrix. It's a fabric that's woven into so many modes of operation that we operate in unconsciously. And again, as we start to awaken, there may be this feeling of disgust. I've been experiencing that, where I see patterns that are woven into my experience, and as they come up and out, it's disturbing. And we're seeing it globally, right? Of course, some of the things that we're seeing, some of the things that we're witnessing come up are unbelievably dark, unbelievably damaging, unbelievably disturbing. And again, the individual role with this is to allow all of those reflections of those patterns that exist within ourselves to be pulled out like a net, like a web, pulled out, and let them go, knowing that this has been a game of choice. None of us are here on accident. None of us are experiencing anything by accident. This is a soul journey. And so we're here at this pivotal time in history to allow it all to transmute, transform through us, because we are the ones bringing this light. We're the ones building. We're creating the new. Thank you all for being here with me. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and share it with someone you think it would benefit. And also, I love to hear from you all. Please leave a comment with what really resonated and how this is moving through you. If you'd like to work with me one-on-one, all of the links for that are in the description box below. And I would also love to invite you to join my private community, which is free. It's called the True Creator Community. The link for that is in the description box below as well. Take care, everybody. Bye.